Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members of the Patreons. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it, guys. We are flying out with the Su-27S and the J-11 today, but the objective is to talk about the Fox 3 missiles that Russian aircraft could actually have. Of course, there are two main options, and one of them is a lot more realistic than the other. So let's talk about the first realistic option, the R-77, guys. The R-77 is a missile that a lot of people know, and it's a well-known missile. It's basically the counterpart to the AIM-120. It was developed in the same era, although it was delayed due to the collapse of the Soviet Union and everything like that. It was developed around the same era as the AIM-120, and it was basically just a counterpart for it. What we know from the R-77, of course, is not much, because these missiles are still very much classified, just like the AIM-120, so the public information on these missiles are kind of limited, but still we can have an idea. The missile would have around at least 50 to 70 kilometers of max range, depending on the situation, depending on altitude and etc., with an effective range of around 20-30, something along those lines. Of course, you can reach more range than that, just like you can with the R-27, but just the effective range is basically the range that you would shoot the missile, and you would make the target not have a lot of time to actually react. Because if you don't react, you get into the no-escape zone, which means that it's almost impossible to evade the missile. The thing about this missile is that it will probably turn a little bit more than the AIM-120s, at least the original ones. By how much? Well, the normal public sources that we have claim 2 to 5 Gs more. So it's not like a completely different missile. It's basically more or less on the same range of 30 Gs, around that, okay, of turn. The only thing is that it has these fins. Basically the fins of the R-77 make it a little bit better on the turning capability, but it makes it lose more energy than you would normally do if it was like the AIM-120. So that's, I think, it's the main drawback of the R-77, is that it will probably turn more than AIM-120, but at the same time it will lose more energy quicker on a turn because of the way that the fins work, okay? And of course we have to talk about the Seeker as well. It is a Fox 3 missile, guys, but a lot of people just forget about the main thing about Fox 3 missiles. Yes, Fox 3 missiles are fire and forget, but if you just fire and forget from a very long distance and the target turns slightly, you probably will already miss. So even though, yes, the semi-active missiles, you have to babysit them a lot more until they hit the target, basically. The R-77s, you need to babysit a little bit so that it's more effective and to be able to actually get a proper hit when the target is a little bit further away. And of course, the Seeker has around 16 kilometers of range, which means that only at those ranges the missile will actually go active and actually be a proper fire and forget missile. Okay, so always remember that any Fox 3 missile needs to be led to the target a little bit as well, with the soft lock and everything like that into WS, to be more effective. And it's what you would normally do in a BVR situation to be effective. Okay, so this is the first missile. This is the missile that we probably will see. The only problem with it is that the aircraft that can take it need upgrades. The Su-27S, although in its later production run there are some sources that claim that it could actually take that, normally the only aircraft that could actually take them, the only two aircraft, would be the MiG-29 SMT and the Yak-141, right? The Su-27 would need an upgrade, and even the J-11. So it's it's problematic just because of that. We need more aircraft to actually have that missile so that China can actually receive it as well. The second option is a lot more usable in the aircraft that we have right now, but there is a problem with it as well that we're going to talk about at the end of the video. It is the R-27EA. Well, the R-27EA, it's an R-27, a normal R-27E, just like the R version, but it has a little thing called a 9B1103K active seeker. This makes the R-27E an active radar homing missile. The problem with it, well, the performance of it, everything like that will be the same as the R-27Es that we already have, but the problem that I was talking about is that this missile, I'm pretty sure never saw service. If it did saw service, it was really, really limited. There is not a lot of information about it, and normally it's commonly accepted that the the R-77, sorry, substituted the idea of having an R-27 that is active, because especially with the Dash 1 and the future M that they were planning to add, or planning to do, right, basically would surpassing any type of performance and seeker and everything, the R-27EA, right? But it is an option as well, and it would be an easier option because it's just an updated model of a missile that is already in the game. Would it be cool? Yes, it would. Why? Because it would probably have more range than the R-77. As you know, the R-27Es, they're very, very long range missiles. You know, they can hit targets up to like 100 kilometers if you have the radar and the if you fly, you're flying high and everything like that. So it's a very, very high range missile. But at the same time, it is that good old question of, is it really worth to actually add something that didn't see service? Well, honestly, I normally think it's not, and I would honestly like to see the R-77 a lot more than the R-27EA, but Gaijin sometimes like to add these types of missiles, so let's wait and see. I think the most likely one that we will see is the R-77, and to be countering it, all the NATO nations would receive the AIM-120s, the respective AIM-120 that will have the same performance of it. So that's the most likely option for sure, but it doesn't mean that we will not see the R-27EA. Let me know in the comments, what do you think is the perfect missile to be added to the Chinese and Russians for the Fox 3 when they are added, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye.